everybody here. Welcome. I'm supposed to give welcome to everybody on the stage. Welcome everybody. Welcome all the faculty and staff, the administrators at Newman. Welcome to past students at Newman University. Welcome to you new to soon to graduate students at Newman University. Welcome especially to all of the rest of you that are family and friends, for all these folks that are sitting up in the front of the room. These are really special people, and I think I can say that they wouldn't be here if it were not for you and your support of them. You've really done a lot to help them get to where they are now, and I know that we are all appreciative of what you have done for your students, the sacrifices that you've made, and I know that your students are as well. We've gotten to know your students, your children pretty well over the last several years. At least I've been here now for 3.5 years. I've got to know some of you quite well, and some of you arrived here as freshmen at Newman University. I know that you had a point where you came in to a big room. You brought your students, your children into that room. There were a bunch of us faculty in there, and the staff was there, and the administration and so forth. And we all got together. There was some speeches and some talk and things like that. And then you got up and left. And you left your children with us. We very much appreciate that opportunity. We take that responsibility very seriously. But I'd also like you to know that as you left your children, your young people with us, you gave us something to work with that we wouldn't have been able to accomplish much if you hadn't done your part. You had done a lot in terms of providing the foundation in these students that allowed us to take them and continue their education while they were here with us at Newman. And especially for the folks that arrived as freshmen, but including the folks that have transferred in and you graduate students, I think that you have allowed us to sort of help shape the way that you have continued in your education and your development. But all of that got started, at home with the folks that are sitting behind you here today. We really appreciate what it is that you did for us and for these students that we have. They're good students, and I like hanging around with these students. And I really, well, most of them. But I've been in other places where it's not quite the same, and I really do want to say how pleasant it is for me to show up each day at work and be surrounded by such bright, really bright, intelligent, hardworking, sincere, honest students. I've been at other places and it's not really quite the same, and I don't ever take that for granted anymore. I like to tell this story of when it comes to the subject of honesty and so forth. I give these tests. They're the bubble type tests where you have to fill in the bubbles with a pencil, and sometimes students don't bring their pencils to the exam, so I have some pencils that I go out and buy, and I give them to these students, and they always return the pencils. And there'll be times when students will leave, and they'll leave the building after the test. They'll go back to their dorm, and 20-25 minutes later, they come back and go, here's the pencil. And I'm not exaggerating that. And, I appreciate that. You've got some pretty good folks that you have lent to us for a few years here, and we really appreciate spending time with them.
Yeah.
I'm supposed to provide all sorts of words of wisdom in this speech, and that is kind of awkward for me, and I think it'd probably be better if I just explain what you should not do in life. One of you sitting down here in front of me once wrote on the wall of my office, well actually a lot of you have written on the wall of my office, and none of you had permission to do that. And actually some of the faculty are even writing on the wall of the office. You know who you are, so it really wasn't me that started it. It was one of these down here, and then it just sort of got out of control. But the phrase that Louisa wrote on the office wall was a phrase from Mark Twain that said basically that what is it? You want to stand up and say it? Good judgment comes from experience, but experience comes from bad judgment. So I've got a lot of good judgment, and I think a lot of you soon-to-be graduates probably have obtained a lot of good judgment while you've been here at Newman as well. And a lot of that didn't come in the classroom, it came from other things. You know, we have to, in college and even other parts of our lives, we have to make decisions. And again, I'm pretty good at clarifying the decisions that you should not be making. And I think a lot of you have sort of come to the same realization. Sometimes you make the right decision, sometimes you make the wrong decision. But really what got you here today is the fact that not only were you able to get into and get through the courses that we offered here at Newman, but you were also able to surmount the difficulties that arise when you don't make the best decisions. And sometimes there are other things too that are forced upon you as you go through college that aren't really the result of a bad decision, but we are all aware of what it is that you've had to deal with while you've been here. I know that it seems that we're only, well, in truth, I really only care about what you do in my class, but I know deep down that you've had other things to do. You've had jobs, you've got families, you know, you've got your own family, you've got children, spouses, you've had life events that arise, usually on exam days, and, you know, you've had to deal with those things while you got through the courses. And we all know that you've had to do that, and I think that makes what it is that you've accomplished here today all that much more impressive. I really mean that. It wasn't really like that for me in college. I was supposed to just go and study, and I didn't even do that well. You guys really have my admiration for everything that you've done, and that has brought you to this point. You've really done something, and maybe it's even more than what you really can appreciate right now. But I think in the future, you'll look back on this and say, yeah, I really did pull that off. And you know, the odds weren't always in your favor sometimes. So I am supposed to give you a bunch of words of wisdom and so forth, and I can't do that. But I did want to talk about it very briefly before I shut the turns off the mic, that I don't have much opportunity to talk about in my classes. Every now and then this will come up in my course on pathophysiology, which is a study of diseases in people. And we talk about diseases, obviously, and we especially talk about diseases that affect old people in that course. And that's what I wanted to talk about very briefly here today, because I think it's something that we're all really having to deal with right now. I'm pretty sure that it's something that we're all going to have to deal with for a very long period of time. I think it's a very important situation, a very pressing situation that has arisen, and it's arisen in the very recent past in our society. And that is that we are now enjoying the benefits of medical science in such a way that our life expectancy has grown enormously and at an enormous rate. So 200 years ago, and for all of our existence on this planet prior to that, maybe really even 150 years ago, we were lucky to live to 40. We lived about 30, 35, 40 years of age, and then we died. We didn't really typically grow old. We didn't expect to grow old. And just in the past 150 years or so, we've doubled that life expectancy, and that is an astonishing accomplishment. The problem is that we haven't kept pace in terms of our ability to care for our elderly folks. So we have now much more of the chronic diseases that we talk about in pathophysiology than we ever did before. We never really had to worry about certain types of diseases that affect the heart or the kidneys or things like that. Not really did we ever have to worry about that before now. And now we really do. And we're not really that good at taking care of those people with kidney problems and heart problems and so forth. In other words, the real reason we live so much longer now than we ever did before, and while it's going to sound a little funny, it's got really very little to do with what we do to take care of old people. It's the fact that we are now able to make sure that children survive childhood. So with the advent of vaccines for childhood communicable diseases, we made this tremendous effect on our life expectancy. That's been a good thing, of course. The problem is, again, we're now having to deal with lots and lots of old people who have diseases, and we're not very good at taking care of those folks. And as I say, this is something that we're only really just now having to deal with in a significant way, but I have no doubts that we're going to have to continue to deal with that for a long, long time that's not just you healthcare types. That's everybody's parents, everybody's grandparents. All of us will have to deal with this. Many of us are already dealing with this. I don't really have any solutions for you. I simply wanted to make it clear that I think that as we continue to bear this enormous burden of caring not only for our children and ourselves and our spouses, but also for our parents and our grandparents, we're doing something that we've never really had to do before. So if it feels like this is a tremendous burden, if it's a tremendous burden financially, and if it's a tremendous burden emotionally, if it's a tremendous burden physically, I think you're right. I think it is. And I think that if nothing else, if you know that you're doing something remarkable by taking care of all of these people, I think that you are. And I think that that is yet another accomplishment that you can all be very proud of, in addition to the accomplishment that you are here to recognize, that we are here to recognize in you. So with that, since